And Richmond, I'm back for another video. Today we are talking about web development. And one thing I want to say is I've seen a lot of talk on the interwebs, and I've seen some other YouTubers do videos on development, and a lot of them just go, they tell you like a do's and don'ts and things they advise. And I'm just going to say at the front of everything and everything development orientated, you just gotta do it. You just gotta build and try it, and you're gonna run into frustrations, and it's really up and down. Like, they don't tell you this part of coding, but it's very emotional, right? Because one minute something's working, and then the next minute it's not working, and it just worked, but other people need to see that it worked. You know it worked, but then now it's broken because you tried to change something and you forgot a period somewhere. And so now you gotta go through 3 hours of code to figure out where you missed a period to figure out why your app's not working. So that's coding in a nutshell. There's a lot more to it than that, guys. Obviously the other side is the mental capacity and the wanting to problem solve every day of your life. So That's really it. Not to start off with like anything downing or negative about it. I think coding's a great career goal for a lot of people. It might not be the right one for you, but let's go through a couple things that I want to talk about with coding and some of the first steps you can do to get started. And let's check it out. So, a lot of people when they start coding, they start in with the front end, right? You want to start off with stuff that you can see, you can touch, right? So when you work with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, these are the three main things that make up websites and the internet. When you work with these things, you can see the work you're accomplishing. You can see the work happening on the screen. It's happening in front of you. You can adjust things. You can tinker with things. So I think these are the top three things to learn right now. If you're just starting out, I'm going to say these three, and getting good at these three is, that's talented enough. You can get a decent job just doing that. Obviously, JavaScript, there's like a lot going on there, and there's a lot to kind of unpack, and we'll talk about that. But HTML, that's what makes websites. That's a basic language for websites. CSS, that's the design portion. That's what you use to design websites. And JavaScript. JavaScript's it's used for browsers and for websites and for a lot of different things now. But yeah, it's a main language you want to use, and it's great. So if we go down this list, there's a whole bunch of things. Learning the basics, writing semantic HTML, forms and validations, conventions, and you're probably wondering what these all are, right? Well, the main thing you really want to learn is learn what SEO is, learn about the internet and how things work, DNS, like right here, DNS and how it works, super important stuff, right? What is hosting? That can also be important. And if you guys want to navigate to Roadmap SH, I'm just going to tell you this. I'll probably put the link in the description below, but that's a great place just to look at all these different things and look at a roadmap of if you want to be a front-end engineer, these are the kind of things you're going to want to learn. And I think even in 2023, I'm making this video, that's going to be the title, something 2023 related to web development, how to learn it in 2023 or something. These are all still relevant. This is all, even though like things are changing, we've got ChatGPT just out here writing code and doing all sorts of stuff. This is all super relevant still, and it's just super important. So forms and validations. I'm gonna say one thing real quick. Forms are probably as you're learning website stuff, learn forms, okay? Because a lot of things we do on the internet have to do with taking information and just moving it to a different place, okay? And that's a lot of what development is. So if you learn forms, start understanding JSON data and stuff, that's super great. and that'll really help you as things progress. So I think I want to move on. I don't want this video to be super rocket long, so we're going to move on now. So GitHub, what is GitHub? So GitHub is kind of like your storage and version control. It actually is version control. It's where everybody's code kind of goes and lives on the internet. If you guys want to, I can just navigate over to my GitHub. Hopefully it just pulls right up, and I don't have no login weird shit. Let's see. Because I do this usually typically at work. So let's see here. And you guys won't see my login, so I'm not worried about it. I'll just copy this and see. I don't know if this is the right. There we go. Yeah, we'll update it for Brave. Okay, so if you guys look, this is my GitHub. These are all my projects. These are some of the projects I've been doing. If you look back at some of the videos, I talked about this epoxy website. And some other stuff I'm working on for work. The BAMSA, here's the BAMSA app I'm doing with Prisma. That was my last update 2 days ago, was the connections live between Prisma, Supabase, all that stuff. So, this is what GitHub is. It's a place where your code goes. You store your code in a file system called a repository. And, yeah, you definitely want to learn how to use that. Everybody uses that. I think it's just a standard thing now at this point. Let's move on, though, because I don't want to keep hitting these boring topics like GitHub. GitHub's great. Yeah, learn how to use it. Yeah, become, decently good at it, because you're going to use it a lot. So package managers. Package managers are like the systems that install your coding libraries and such on your computer. NPM's used, commonly on Windows machines. Yarn, people use all sorts of those things. I'm not sure why. I feel like CSS preprocessors is kind of in a weird area, because I would talk about those like more down here, but we'll talk about those in a minute. So after you guys learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you might be like, oh well, my website's great, I can do a lot of things, but I want to work with more data, or I need to build a bigger application, right? And that's when we start talking about React. React was built by Facebook. It's probably the top or most used front-end language, I would say, maybe right now. I don't know. I don't know if, I know a lot of people do Vue and Angular as well, but Angular is more, I think, for, mobile architecture. These are all different languages, guys. So, obviously, some of these are made with JavaScript, right? You see that .js. That means it's still built with JavaScript. And in the end, you're still just knowing JavaScript to use this, to use Vue. So, that's what I meant, though. That's why these three are super important, because that always goes back to your fundamentals. So, let's keep going here. So, CSS framework. So, instead of writing manual CSS, a lot of people, what they do is they find a framework that works for them. And there's ways of importing that and putting that into your code. It's super important, and I think that some of these are really good. Material UI, we could probably just go over that to give you guys a little glimpse. So if you just go over Material UI, I think this is it. Material. Materialize CSS. Here we go. So this is Materialize CSS. This is a free CSS framework that you can use. They have the mobile options here. They have forms, with autocomplete. They have all sorts of stuff, right? All sorts of stuff. There's thousands of these guys. You'll be able to, if you have a design mind, you'll be able to go crazy and try all these different ones. Tailwind is probably the most popular one at the current moment. It's super helpful, and what Tailwind does is it helps you kind of write less code, because you put your CSS on the same page as your HTML instead of making another CSS page. A lot of people still do that to make their own classes and custom stuff, but you can just write Tailwind right in there. So I'm going to say learn Tailwind. It'll help you. Alright, so let's keep going down. Some people hate it though because it's kind of like maybe over clunky. But that's all I'm going to say about Tailwind. I could go on about it. I don't want to get off on a rant. Alright, web components. So what are web components? HTML templates, custom elements, and shadow DOM. So I don't know if these are super important to learn. Maybe you guys could read about HTML templates. But yeah, so React, there's frameworks, there's web frameworks. What a framework is basically a set of tools and systems that's already locked into a package, and it allows you to build faster because it has some basic stuff you need for web development, like the receiving of data or creating routes for your data to go. Because in a lot of new front-end applications, they're decoupled, where it means that your front-end and your database are on separate servers sometimes, and you use an API to talk in between the both. So some of these frameworks are really good at that. Next.js, Nuxt, Vue. You can do a lot of data stuff within those three. I don't know much about Remix, so I can't say anything about that. Let's keep it going down. Static site generators. Yeah, so like I said, you can build sites that move a lot of data, or you can build sites that are kind of static. Gatsby is great for that. Yeah, check that out. There's a lot of these guys, and I think that talking about all of them would just be overbearing it. GraphQL. So what GraphQL is, it's like a newer language / way of storing stuff and moving stuff around via API. A lot of people are using it for WordPress sites. A lot of people are using it for other kinds of mobile applications. Great thing to learn. I just added to your list. I would say the mastery of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are imperative. Right? Those are imperative. I'm not even a master yet, and I'm still, I'm building other stuff right now, but I could be a better master. There is one other thing I saw, TypeScript. A lot of people are learning TypeScript right now. It's like JavaScript, but you can include types, which once you learn development, you understand what that even means. It's a great language. Some people are using it. You can use it with Next.js, and a lot of tools are incorporating it now. So that's really all I'm going to say about front end. Front end's front end. You learn how to work on stuff that people see and people use. Back end is where all the magic happens, right? So the back end is where all the data lives and comes from. It's your database and a lot of stuff relating to storage and all of that. So there is some things I'm going to go over with backend. This won't be extensive as the front end portion, but let's just talk about it really quick. So languages for backend. So there's a couple systems and a couple tools that are in place. If you guys know anything about Python, or you just type in Python, Django usually comes up. Django is a backend framework, and you can use it to create APIs and a lot of other things. Super helpful. JavaScript, obviously, I talked about JavaScript already. It does backend as well. There's things like Express and other tools that are super helpful when you know JavaScript. So these are tools I would say. A lot of people are using Go now. I've seen a lot of applications starting to use Go. And Rust is another tool, newer language that people are using for backend. Again, GitHub, it's everywhere. It's all in coding. Super helpful. Let's keep going down here. So we're going to talk about databases now. So how you store your data on the internet is up to you, depending on your application. Sometimes it'll work better with some things, and you might, just depending on your architecture, is really how you choose your database. So Postgres, it's super quick, super helpful. MySQL is probably the OG out of these. And then let's keep going now. Oracle, that's an OG in the game too. These are all relational databases. You'll learn how to use these. A lot of data people on the internet and some stuff on LinkedIn you'll see a lot of says learn MySQL. That's true. Learn it. Learn how to use it well. It'll help you in the end. So there is other databases that are NoSQL. MongoDB, CouchDB. I've never used any of these, but it's common, and you're going to want to learn how to use them. So, so another thing they're saying in the backend you're going to want to learn is like basic terminal commands. You should be using the terminal by now already for coding. If you learn the front end, you'd be moving through the terminal for, changing file structure, changing in and out of folders. I don't know why using the terminals here, but I should have thought about that before. But yeah, using the terminals super helpful and increases your speed, and knowing the shortcuts helps a lot. So just gonna add that tidbit in right now. So more about databases. Let's keep going. So this is all backend, guys. Remember, we're talking about the backend of a application. So learning about APIs, that's important. How data moves and from one place to another, super important. So I think out of the backend stuff right now, learning SQL and then APIs, REST, JSON APIs. I said GraphQL already. We already talked about that's a newer language. All those are super important. So add that on your list of backend things. That basically help you move data from your backend of your application to the front, so users can use it and interact with it. So that's what those things do. You're gonna have to learn about each one, guys. You guys can click these, and if you really want to go in and dig in there, you can click on each one of these, and it helps you and tells you what each one of them are. Here's GraphQL, query language, and runtime system for APIs. So keep going on. There's a lot of other things here, guys. Authentication. But when you build your first application, you'll figure it out, right? It's just a thing I think you have to work on and do to really learn it. Some of these, you can click on them and learn the terms, but it really helps. But it really helps when you learn it that way. So let's keep going. CDN, you'll learn about those probably later once you kind of get more experience. Architecture patterns, So a lot of apps right now, they cut stuff into littler pieces and put them on things called microservices. So microservices like Docker, Kubernetes, I think that's how you pronounce it. I always fuck that up. So who knows? But super important, and knowing how to implement that for a website or an application, that's some skills you need to learn. So let's keep going. I love it. They have GraphQL like 3 times. I don't understand why it keeps coming up. I say the only other mega important thing that I want to talk about is the types of service. So Apache is usually what people deploy code to live on the internet, to do things on the internet. And I don't even know how to pronounce this right, but Nginx, that's another type of web server. And I haven't really worked with a bunch of those. I think I usually just deploy things to SiteGround hosting or to GitHub pages. So that's really it. I haven't deployed a whole bunch of stuff to tell you about the different web servers. But yeah, guys, DevOps roadmap. That's more running, how to help developers be more efficient. And that's kind of what DevOps is. It's like the leader of the dev team that kind of keeps the coders on track. If you want to learn more about that, feel free to click DevOps roadmap. But yeah, I think I highlighted all the important things that I would say you need to learn to really just get into coding and get your feet wet. I mean, as soon as you start building your first couple projects, and you're working just with those three languages, you could definitely find a job somewhere. Um, there's a lot of places hiring remotely and in person for all of these skills. So yeah, I think that's it, guys. I summarized what it takes to get a basic developer job in 2023, a basic job working somewhere, and even I mean, there's tons of WordPress jobs, guys. WordPress is still a thing people use, and there's a lot of websites on the internet using WordPress. So I'm not gonna knock it. This is just if you want to learn how to build applications and work, even in Web3. I'd say these are the top three skills to even start getting into Web3. Web3 is you're gonna have to learn like Ethereum languages for smart contracts and some stuff like that to write smart contract code. But you can get pretty far just learning these HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then I would employ you to learn more and keep learning, because coding is an ever learning process. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for checking out my channel. I'm Dan Richmond, and peace. You guys have an awesome day.